Cool. I've unmuted myself. I think I've pressed it where I want to. Actually, I'll just do this. Right. Alright, good. So I think next on my list of stuff to do is to reconfigure the whole list of scouts. And for this task, I had some ideas I was brainstorming during the day today. How we can handle all this more efficiently. I'll search for this location on both sides. And scouts. Yeah, basically horse scout. Anyway, here we can just start with the scout business here, so. If scout. A1. Alright, so into that pool we're gonna pull everything. We're gonna pull all the scout types that are basically a DM scout pool will skip, all scouts will skip, some scouts, few scouts. We're going to take this set of things. And I will do it, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy them over to my other screen. Why don't we if I copy, paste, duplicate, we're going to make a second copy of Notepad, move this copy of Notepad away, scoochify this one into the middle of the screen. There we go. Now it can work. So, A1. We can also just basically else we'll have, you know, more things. So right. We don't want DM, we don't want all, we don't want some, we want a few scouts. For now, I will copy paste. No, we're just going to cut this. DLC. Yeah, no, we're copying all of this. I want to rework this also. Actually, we're gonna steal all of this. Okay, this will be at the end. DE Scouts 2. These are higher numbers. We're gonna try to put them in order. We'll have to readjust, of course, all the percentages. The Amazon Archer we removed from that set. That's fine. Also, these are all right. We should probably arrange these all properly too. Slinger, top of this list. 300, then we have, yeah. Eagle, 7. All of this goes in the middle. I think the Genitor perhaps needs to be checked as well, if that should really be correct. Fox. That's fine. The Genitor there is fine. Yeah, the Genitor is fine for now. Good. Alright, next set of scouts. And then once we've rearranged all these lists, then I'm gonna go add the things from Greece. Okay, Yodich, Feature Karambit, Elite Karambit. All of this can go 10, 10, 11. That goes in here. Because this is a bit of a thing still from Legacy when I was supporting all versions of the game. But at this point, we aren't supporting anything but DE on this version of HyperRandom. So there's no need to distinguish by which expansion the content is from anymore. Scorpion... Actually, the Slinger needs to move up to here. Trade card, yeah, better. King Bela needs to move as well. Do we call it 1A? Let's call it 1A. Then if we want other 1s, we can split them into 1A, B, C. We need more space. Okay, there are 2 Genitors. That's a good place to start as well. Figure out what's going on with those 2. It's 300 to 500. Town Center is 444, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Then, yep. So these are all the scouts that happen on old starts. I'm here, 700 to 840. Gap here. Then we move Eagle Warrior over here, right? Nope, further. At this point, this is just an Eagle Scout, presumably. 38, 840. Sorry, Amazon Warrior. So end if this is an end if, wait, else end if from this. Else only a few scouts, so basically all of this can go. This is all of the possible scouts, not in order fully either. we'll deal with that later. Let's check our list here that we have right now. If we're fine with all of these things. Also, let's see how many entries we have actually in this list. Okay, my thing says we have 70 here. So we just change everything down to 1% to begin with, and then we can up the percentages. Or do we leave... we'll leave it up first so that I can see what I had as a higher chance. So Archer, Skirmisher, Elite Skirmisher, Ram, Militia, Man-at-Arms, Heavy Swordsman, Spearman, Trade Cart, Relic Cart, Slinger, Full Trade Cart. Fine. BMDL, King Bela, Scorpion, Norse Warrior, Pikeman, Halb, Capgran, Joan, Petard. So basically anything that isn't a ranged unit and isn't too high attack is fine here. The rams are fine because villagers can kill them. Anything that's sort of archer based, we have to be careful about. Raider, Cavalry, Archer, I want to check the ID of this. Let's get Advanced Genie Editor booted up. Yes. Let's build. You guys presumably can't see that right now, yeah. Alright, so we were looking at 583. And listed in this as 583 is the Genitor, but this is like the beta Genitor, is it not? We're going to test that in our test script. Create object. Scout type. Scout type. Let's take hunts. And let's also, music is getting a bit too repetitive. What are we going to pick instead? Maybe I'll take this set of music. Try that. In a moment once it loads properly. So our Genitor is technically a ranged unit. This is basically the beta Genitor. Let's see if we can... It's only 4 attack though, right? That's comparable to like an archer. It is pretty fast. I think we still keep it in. Alright, I was gonna do different music. Let's open with VLC Media Player to the rescue. Okay. Also, Genitor is fine. We can go back to let me just see what screen I'm showing you guys. This stuff. So generator. We'll also put that in this list. 583. It's probably under AOC scouts, isn't it? For the heck of it. Alright. Count. Backward direction. Yep. Oh, here. No. Just name proper wherever it's located. Okay. Good. Hunting wolf, Shah, saboteur, bird barrel, eagle scout, eagle warrior, Ethiopian wild woman, Amazon warrior. That's basically an eagle warrior. King, donkey trade cart, heavy pikeman. That's the proper generator. Princess Yoda, siege tower, karambit, elite karambit, imperial skirmisher, ninja, battering ram, flaming camel, Spardox wagon, queen, Sanyogita, Chanbardai, relic card, merchant, sergeant, swordsman. Cool. Alright, let's just start by putting all of these at 1%. The first one needs to be at 0% because it gets the percent from 0 to 1. Then we'll do the next scout pool, which is when you have like palisade walls. Or basically anything weaker than stone walls, I think is what specific that's set up. So fortified palisade as well. Because currently in HyperRandom, some scouts are a bit too common, I think, like some of these kings here. Well, really, if we get as much variety as possible in, then I could even put the horses into this list, honestly. Add horses? Question mark? If you want to ask me anything, feel free to. Otherwise, I will merely continue doing this. Some of it is a bit just tedious, which is why I'm streaming, so that do a bit more. Yeah, I'm specifically. I've got a whole list of things I want to do this week still. Yesterday I finished how the buildings spawn, reworking that. Today I'm reworking how the scouts spawn. And if I get around to it, I'll also be able to add all the ones from the new DLC, all the units from that as potential scouts. That would be this, then reworking boats, and is something to do as well. This basically fits with the scouts. We can put it up here. List of things to do. Gaia armies, all this stuff here. And I was somewhere over here. We did all of these. Scout pool 1A, and then we do else if scout 2A. this slightly. Oh, well, basically power. Alright, and then into this we want to copy everything. Everything that's in. Alright, DM scout pulls all scouts, so we want everything with some scouts. But we're going to remove everything that we put into the first list already. But for now, I'll copy them all over and then we do the consolidation afterwards. I mean, if I'm giving a warrior priest with a relic, I feel like that could go into the first list as well. Ah. So yeah, there's some things to change here. There we go. No elite. Alright. We can actually copy this description as well. Where am I getting pinged? Extended server maintenance is complete. Well, that took less than the expected 6 hours. DM scout pool, all scouts. Scouts, only a few scouts. Imperial skirmisher. Let me just backtrack slightly. I pasted in the Imperial skirmisher, which I stole. Priest with relic is the last thing that I stole. Put the priest with relic there. Then I took the Imperial skirmisher. That thing there. Alright, cool. Yeah, that's... originally did that right. There was a DM tournament last year. And then I basically just maintained that. Might as well. Like now, the main HyperRandom will, if you play DM, just take, you know, the DM appropriate scouts and so on. And all the other changes that we did for DM. Less stone. The center, I think, is usually open. Imperial skirmisher I put in. Alright, allow all scouts. DM scout pool, all some scouts were here. So what I'm going to do with this list, once we get everything copied over, is delete everything that's already in the first list, and then move anything to the first list that we think is okay on unwalled starts. Like the warrior priest, probably. Alright. look, on the second screen, I'll put over the list of things we currently have in the other set. Then we're gonna have to do some rearranging here as well. 100, 100. Let's just copy all of this. We're gonna have to do this whole thing twice more for the full scout pool and for the DM scouts. Alright, 1111112. That's basically in order. Then we have 200, 400. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to sort them by expansion anymore. Since I'm not supporting anything prior to DE anymore. 55. Okay. And we have a bunch of low-level scouts here. Basically a bunch of AOC scouts. $184 to 88. Let's get everything into order. I mean, maybe I'd be faster if I just took the full list and re-decided which scouts go into which section. I could consider that. For now, I think I'll maintain it. Some thought did go into that. I did remember going through and checking the attack of the various units. 207 and 230. The Palisade Wall starts, so we said no elite unique units and no heroes. Something 275, wasn't it? No. 361. There are a lot of units in the game. There have been a lot more added with the Grease DLC. Okay, Penguin is at 639. $753. $25. Alright, then we're... This is something's not quite order here, 850. Alright, we're basically in order now. Now we delete the duplicates out of this list, though. Like, we're keeping the Archer as potentials. Unwalled Scouts, Skirmisher, Elite Skirmisher, the Longbowman, not there, so that can stay. Crossbowman, Teutonic Knight. Ram needs to go. Beta Camel Rider, Knight. I think we can line it up perfectly. Alright, can just go through this too. So. Militia, Man-at-Arms, Heavy Swordsman. Militia, Man-at-Arms, Heavy Swordsman, yeah. I mean, these are the scouts that we'll see most frequently, so we do want to get everything in there that is appropriate for it. Spearman, trade card, certainly. Relic card. Hondo, slinger, presumably, yeah. Flamethrower, full trade card goes out. BMDL. King Bela. Raider. Imperial Centurion. Scorpion? Do I allow a Scorpion? I do allow a Scorpion. Throwing Axeman. Oh. Monk with Relic. Fine. Basically, if I give a Relic Scout, then I want to ensure that there are enough relics that you can't just get a Relic victory with your... I just want to make sure there are enough relics. Samurai Bandit? Oh, does the Bandit have like... Didn't it have like a super high bonus attack? Bandit... 10 class 4 attack. An attack. Not really. 299. What's wrong with the Bandit? 299. Let's test the Bandit. I mean, maybe I said 10 attack was too high. Is that really too high, though? Compared to some of these things, like, let's see how much attack a heavy swordsman has. Heavy swordsman does only have 7 attack. How about an Eagle Warrior, 753? Also only a 7 attack. How about Yodit? Yodit. Has no attack. Princess Yodit. How about like an elite ceramic? That surely doesn't have 2k attack. Let's go for Ninja. Ninja has 9 attack. Iroquois Warrior. Dolotl. That probably has 10. Yeah, okay, let's take the Bandit. I think like 10. I don't have a Knight in there, but I do want, like, units. Yeah, we can put the Bandit in, why not? You guys probably couldn't see any of that good influence yet, bro. Or did I? Yeah, there it is. It was. Glad we got to do that. Happy Camel, Lake, no, Norse Warrior, HyperRandom, John the Maid, Retard. All that can be on this list. Act Town Center, we're definitely giving that as a anytime type of scout. Swordsman, Marvelist, Heavy Crossbowman. I'm updating HyperRandom. Specifically, I'm reworking how the scouts spawn. Eventually I want to add in all the grease things too, but first I want to just rework this because I still had it set up originally that it was split into AOC scouts, DE scouts, HD edition scouts. There's no need for that anymore since I'm not porting anything other than DE anymore. Well, no. Theoretically, yes. Practically, players wouldn't like that in a tournament setting or some competitive setting. I'll keep that around for an extreme version. Basically, what I do at the moment is I say, if it's Nomad, then you get a horse or nothing. And then if you have a stone wall or stronger, then you can have a big selection of scouts that's anything that isn't like a Cobra Car or a Sharkatzer or a Hero Trebuchet or something. Well, if you have like a Palisade wall, then I'll allow anything that's not like an elite unique unit, heavy cavalry archer type of thing. Because if you restrict it too much, then you're stuck with, you know, Dark Age units and scenario editor units, but you don't have the variety shrinks a lot. But if you sort of tie it to how strong the players' walls are, then you can get away with giving heroes if they have, you know, stone walls, fortified walls. All these raider units, siege ram, on the main retard, siege ram, light cav. Light cav, siege ram, raider. Delete them from this list. Beta Genitor. Penguin is pretty well armored, so we're gonna keep it on the second list. Archer of the Eyes, Berserk. Hunting Wolf, Shah, Saboteur, Emperor in a Barrel. Scouts can certainly be deleted from this list. Basically on this side I have the list that's going to be for unwalled starts. This is the one for Palisade walls. The Warrior 753, that could go. Arkan, Huskarl. Wild Woman. Which attack does she have? Only 4, that's fine. Amazon Warrior. Kings, I surely have on the other list. Donkey trade card. The Amazon Archer I moved over because I think that one is basically like a plumed archer. Kind of fast and strong. We don't want to give cavalry archer type things. List. Yes. What's happening? Oh, right. This silly beta unit here has an infinite fire rate. And I have that in my HyperRandom script the whole time. But no one ever noticed it. Maybe it never came up. Amazon Warrior 825. We already did that. King Donkey. Heavy Pikeman. Heavy Pikeman, Eastern Swordsman. We don't want to give monks no walls. Yodit. Each tower definitely should be the lowest, yeah. Rapids are weak. Ninja we put on the other list. Imperial Skirmisher as well. Seems to be a bordering issue though, yeah. Conic dismounted. That's pretty strong too, isn't it? Bob attack, yeah. I think we're saying 10 is sort of the limit for a melee attack. Archer is really the weakest. Or any sort of ranged unit's only weak. Battering ram, yep. Flaming camel, yep. Ox, cart, wagon, queen. Vita, Changardai, new relic card. All of this. Okay, the other list. Iroquois warrior. We have several priests with relics. Why do we have that? That's something to investigate. Warrior. I can be distracted to deal with that in a moment. Let me just get through the rest of this list. Music is slightly loud. Yeah, I had it like that. There we go. I had to turn up my alternative sounds. I was actually streaming with Christine last time. Merchant, Sergeant. Let me just deal with these. Flemish, Militia. That should probably be looked at. Young Yadwiga. I have the Urumi Swordsman over there. That's one of the stronger things that I've kept there. The elephants... Actually, I do have them in this list. Okay. And the Gulam. Camel Scout. Not the Sharamsha Rider, that thing can just kill verticals under the TC. Mule Cart. The Warrior Priest is listed here, so we don't need it here. And then we can move this. So, to answer your question, at some point I did a video on that, but it's easier if I just show it. So we'll just put this. Let's go that, like that. I can pull out the link too. It's half an hour stream, but I can also just. So, actually, we'll keep this one up. So fundamentally, it's sort of a decision tree to decide various types of things. Well, if we start like here, is this a good place to start? This is a good place to start. Sort of the idea that a map is either has a base terrain, either has land, water, or a forest. And then once you've made that decision, you can basically skip all the theme stuff and move on to player setup. No, move on a bit further, move on to land generation. And yeah, then you take your starting terrain, whatever it is. Do something like that. And then we just have, you know, land terrain, could be a water terrain, could be a different land terrain, and so on. Let's switch windows again. And then you have to decide, you know, are we gonna put something in the middle? There are a couple special things that could be in the middle, like for Capture the Relic or Battle Royale or something like that. And if not, then sort of decision how big to make the player lands, what types of borders they should have, and should there be like a land in the middle, a lake in the middle, a forest in the middle. And then if there's one of those, then depending on how big it is, we can make lands, the corners, less or more likely. And then put lands on the sides as well. So there's no set of specific maps. Instead, it's sort of the general idea. Like you start with a base terrain. The player lands are always land. The neutral lands can be land, forest, or water each, and you put those all together. Then, if we get to the end of the land generation section, you know, you do corners, do sides, and just any combinations of those already adds a lot of variety. Then you add a bit more with connections and so on. Later, try to adjust the trees to respect how much land you made. But basically, just by working with zones and deciding if you put stuff in the corners, in the sides, in the middle, you can come up with a lot of potential layouts. And then I added some more variation by essentially creating like a second set of player lands. These can either be fake player lands, or occasionally they're used to make double TC starts. And then instead of having just one land in the center, there can be 2 lands in the center, or 4. Like here we have a central land, we have 2 player lands in between the players. Here we have 2 things in the corners, we have 2 lands between players again. And to know how much forest to place, we can get to that part now, right? The elevation, you just pick a random amount, less on water maps, because there's less land available. Similar idea for cliffs, basically restrict those to land maps. The cliff. So, for forests... if we have a certain terrain that I'm using for some of the neutral lands, then we can place forest on it. If we don't have that terrain, then we don't place forest on it. And if we have multiple lands, then we place more forest. So yeah, for these neutral lands, basically I did something where each time, if one thing is true, then we define, you know, we have one land. If the second thing is also true, then we up it to 2 lands. And if any one of, you know, whatever it is, we then up it by 1 more if that's also true. And then for the forests themselves on the main thing, it's basically how much terrain do I think is available? How big are the player lands, which I've defined it when I selected how big they were. How big is the central land? I've just defined that when I picked it. And then I define what percentage of forest I want. And then I also mix the forest according to those percentages. So it sort of tries to adjust how much forest we place based on the land percent. Doesn't always work, but it generally works. Yeah, then we have some random other terrain mixing. That's not so important. We go here. I think I've uncommented the stuff above. But then it generally gives the right amount of forest, with some variation, and that was desired. But by specifying basically how large the player lands are and basing the amount of forest on that, we get a decent estimate. I mean, if you can always do a mega random style thing. That can be potentially easier if you have a map pack. The other thing is basically, I mean, what mine is based on is sort of the idea that the unknown uses, which is at the beginning to define a bunch of stuff and then build on that. It just takes a lot of generation, a lot of testing. You see generations you don't like, you have to try again, and try to figure out what's causing them. And then, I guess, beyond that sort of connection generation, which I've refined over various times, and it looks hideously complicated now, but depending on how many players we have, if we're allowing Mishi-type maps, if we don't want island-type maps, if it's balanced teams, sort of deciding whether or not we need to connect the players to each other, whether or not we need to connect everyone to each other, whether we need to connect all the lands if it's a nomad map so villagers aren't trapped. Very big decision tree about that. Do we need to specifically have the connections cross forest? Do we need to have the connections cross water? So the first section is, do the connections need to cross water? Do the connections need to cross forest? That depends on what style of map it is, and if we have a terrain that could conceivably be blocking access to the players or not. We want roads only in team games. And then, do we want to have wide or very wide or ultra wide? How wide should the connections be? And essentially I use connections to make open land maps. To prevent there from being too much forest in the middle of the map, I basically clear out some of the forest in the middle when it's supposed to be an open land map. But that, of course, depends on the number of players. If you have a bunch of players, then the same size connections will just cover the entire map. So you need to scale that with the number of players. And also, you know, if you're connecting to everything and you have a bunch of lands and all over the place, then there'll be more connections running around, so you have to adjust to that. And then I just connect across every possible terrain. I don't specifically check for the terrains that I used. could be done differently too. So this is the first one with, I think, connections across water, presumably. Yeah, connections across water, then a separate set of connections across forest, and then a separate set of connections for roads, presumably. Yeah. I reworked that as well at some point. And then add the custom beaches. And then I use the connection information to determine how we need to place resources. If there is a too choke pointy, then we want to place the resources per player rather than scattering neutral resources. Yeah, and then just a bunch of random objects generation. Let me find the video. I think it's probably somewhat outdated at this point, but I did like a half an hour video / stream. Is this the one? Resources on top of that. Yeah, we can grab this without the timestamp. Yes, I do define true. I don't do anything particularly interesting. On land maps, I sometimes place cliffs. Sheep is cow. Yeah, basically, unless I say no cliffs, like water maps, forest maps have no cliffs, the maps that have a lot of water, forests have no cliffs. Otherwise, there can be cliffs. Yeah. Nothing particularly interesting. Yeah, like here there would have been a big amount of forest here, but it was cleared out by connection. Of course, you still have issues where, you know, this neutral land here is connecting to the players are and so on. Hard to guarantee everything is completely fair. Anyway, I think I'm going to take a break. I might stream later this evening again, but I'm going to take a break for now because I'm being called to do something else. But thanks for joining, and I might stream later. I will probably stream in the coming days if I don't